Roll out the red carpet. It's time to close the chapter of Fantasy MLR 2025 and move to the next season. But first, we got to hand out some awards. It's time for the first ever TFR Manager's Choice Awards. Find out from the biggest boss to the biggest sleeper to the MVP to some undrafted gems. We talk about it all and reveal who is your Fantasy MLR 2025 winners. The Fantasy Rucker Show starts right now.
Where rugby and the world of fantasy sports collide. Welcome to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, talking all things rugby from the MLR to leagues around the world. We're on top of it. Headphones on, pads off. This is the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Now, here are your hosts, Ryan Yee, Matt Yee, and Devin Vanderpool.
What's up, everybody? This is episode 169 of the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Thank you so much to our Fantasy Ruckers League members, our community members, and everyone else tagging along on this journey of making Fantasy MLR a reality. With you each and every single week, Matt Yee, Devin, Vandy Vanderpool. I am Ryan Yee, and we got a special episode for you on this one. It's time to roll out the red carpet, like we said at the top of the show. A little late. But in case you didn't know, we had a pretty hectic offseason of things that we needed to take care of. Some teams may not be with us anymore. Kind of sidetracked us a little bit. But either way, it is finally here. The TFR Manager's Choice Awards, where we dish out some 2025 awards to officially turn the chapter into MLR 2026. From the biggest sleeper, the biggest bust, to your Fantasy MLR 2025 MVP. You, the people, have spoken. We've heard you, and we're going to reveal the winners on this episode. Matt Yee, Devin, Vandy, Vanderpool, guys. What are you excited for the TFR Manager's Choice Awards or what?
Yeah,
I'm scared
I've
from
been
one
waiting.
answer and one answer only. Who's the greatest host?
That is the one that we are all waiting to hear the announcement for. I thought I'd throw that in there as a question. I think I'm quite excited.
Lag out after that, depending on the.
So yes, on top of MVP, on top of biggest sleeper, on top of biggest bust, we do have what the people have spoken is who the best host on the show is. Matt, I think it might say that the best host, or at least as of right now, in terms of dress, might be you and myself. You're watching on the YouTube video, how to get dressed and formalized for the TFR award show. Of course, it's a big
shirt, boys. Don't do that.
We've talked about it before, and we've said this is right up there with the Grammys, the Oscars, the Emmys, the Nobel Peace Prizes, the TFR Manager's Choice Awards right there. So obviously wearing our best kit. Some stories behind this one. Both me and Maddie wore these to New York for our New York Sevens tournament. Has to be up there in one of the best kits that we've had.
It's not New York.
Oh, mine's New York Sevens. What's yours, Maddie?
I wore this to my tour to Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland.
Okay. And yours is what? Mountie uniform?
It's a Mountie.
I think mine's what? Like a tuxedo, I think. Something
Here's
like
a
that.
tuxedo.
A red tuxedo. There we go. Shout out to Bill Carruthers Secondary School. Had some good rugby tours over there. So, yeah. And it's given us the pleasure. This is what we needed the jersey for, is for this episode's TFR Manager's. So we are going to be getting into all of that, of course, just around the corner, reveal those award winners for you here in the Fantasy MLR 2025 season. As, like I said, we officially turn the chapter to 2026, which we've been talking a lot about here this past few months with all the drama that has been happening. But we do have no shortage of news to get to as well. Some bold statements being said by some pretty marquee people in the North American rugby landscape, which we'll obviously react to. And of course, the Women's Rugby World Cup did wrap up in what was a very, very exciting time for Canadians in particular. We'll talk about that as well. So again, a jam-packed episode that we got for you in this one. If you haven't already, talking about drama that has happened this offseason, go check out that interview that we had a couple of weeks ago when the announcement of the Houston SaberCats first came out about their exit. We brought on I think universally loved hooker from that squad, a guy that has been phrasing.
Must do good business.
Yeah, must do real good business. Seth Smith, who was a fantastic chat with a couple episodes. Obviously, you could tell the passion that he had for this club and not only the sport, but how it kind of hit home for him and kind of how he's approaching the whole situation as a player who's directly affected by all these crazy announcements that have been happening. So that was episode 168. If you haven't seen it already, go check that out. And where you're going to do that is at the Fantasy Ruckers, whether you're listening on the pod or watching on the YouTube video. You can find our handle up above, down below in the description, and all great content over there. Full episodes, obviously, on the YouTube channel, full episodes wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe, like, do all that good stuff. Content out there on our social media handles as well. Got a Discord community that you can join along with checking out the official website of Fantasy MLR here on the Fantasy Ruckers Show, thefantasyruckers.com. So with that being said, again, couldn't give enough shout out to Seth Smith there because he was absolutely fantastic. But let's get into some news.
News dump.
Time for the episode 169 TFR news dump. Where do I want to begin with this? I guess let's lay the land. We talked about Seth Smith hopping on the show and talking about the Houston SaberCats exit. And since we've heard that announcement, obviously been a couple weeks since we've been on, but there has been speculation going on. There's been chatter going on, conversations going on, like I alluded to, some marquee people making some pretty crazy comments here on some platforms. But I want to start off with kind of the, I guess, statement that we've been kind of waiting for in terms of the face of the Houston SaberCats franchise, and that is Pote Human, who is the head coach, or I guess now former head coach of the Houston SaberCats, who came out with an official statement from him to all of the fans and all the staff and players and things like that. Basically, in short, this is a guy that's been there since the beginning. He thanks them and all the support going on through, but I kind of say that this was the final kind of nail in the coffin, right? We got the announcement from the Houston SaberCats and then now from Coach Bote in terms of what his thoughts on the whole situation is. Again, from all the exits that we have had from the Miami Sharks, from the NOLA Gold, the Houston SaberCats, kind of like how they've been kind of acting throughout the whole time that they've been with the league, the most professional and the most,
Yep.
information and clarity and communication with their fans. And for the people that obviously invest their time, invest their money, and invest their passion into a club, this is the way to do it. Didn't really get that from really at all of any of the other teams who have exited from that. Maybe a handful. Arrows had, I think, an okay kind of goodbye, but to the extent of this point, I think the Houston SaberCats did it top class here. Obviously not the decision they wanted to, but the final words from what has been the face of the Houston SaberCats for quite some time.
Yeah, and I think it has to do with also the fact that this was probably the most on their own terms leaving or folding of a team. Like, they were the ones that were very open about why they left because they could be. I think other teams maybe didn't have that luxury to be able to say, yeah, we don't have the investors to produce. Houston was able to kind of say it's not about money, it's about other things. So Houston just being class as per usual.
Yeah. And I would, just to argue that point, I mean, there ain't no shortage of money with the Miami Sharks ownership group, and we didn't get that type of message.
True.
You know what I mean? So again, I think communication with everything that's going on, that has been a running theme on this show, whether it's been from lineups for fantasy managers to set their lineups heading into match day, to just clarity on what the heck is going on in the league and the standing of the league as we head into another season. It's been, lackluster at times, to say the least. And again, this was kind of been an example of that. And obviously the Houston SaberCats coming on top, which kind of leads to the conversation. We talked about it last week, and I kind of got maybe a little bit emotional about it when it comes to how passionate I was about this standpoint of it. But we still have heard crickets from Major League Rugby. We do know that there's speculation that there is going to be a season. And I think that has...
Free Jacks opted in. They said we're back.
There you go.
We're in for 2026.
We have at least one. We have at least one team. But I think it's clear, and I think it's all but confirmed that MLR 2026 is happening. So all those worries, at least for the next season, can kind of go out the window. maybe some people will take pause because there has been no, let's say, quote unquote, official announcement. I think the league is waiting on maybe a handful of teams to finalize whether or not they'll be participating, which is why the rumor that exists right now is that there's speculation that there will be 6 to 8 teams participating next year. Six obviously being one more team exiting. There also has been rumors that Utah is still looking for investor groups and things like that. That would bring it down to 6. Or there has been also chatter that maybe there's another Canadian team that enters the mix, other things like that. So that range 6 to 8 is still there. Again, we'll wait and see for what that happens. But speaking of the entering of Canadian teams, though, and this is the bigger piece of news that I want to get to before we get into the fun stuff of this episode, is that it does appear, though, that some people, one particular individual, is maybe not so for having Canadian, representation when it comes to Major League Rugby. And I will want to preface this by saying that Maddie, myself, and Vandy are all born and raised Canadians. So, of course, this is maybe going to have some leaning undertones, but I'm going to try to be at least myself here as the kind of moderator of this show, as unbiased as I possibly can be. But I do want to get that out of the way first because, yes, we are Canadians at heart. Even though Maddie and myself are now American citizens as well, we do want to make sure that that is clear as well. But I'll start off with the comment, and I'm alluding to the comments that were said by Scott Lawrence, head coach of USA Rugby, when asked by Will Hooley on the Rugby Rundown about his reaction to the USA's qualification for the upcoming 2027 World Cup Rugby World Cup. Okay. I want to say this. It's got me shook. This quote has got me shook. I want to start off the conversation before I get your reaction, Vandy, and your reaction, Maddie, to this. I want to start off by saying the quote outright so that we're all on the same page and we have the context in which Scott is saying what he's saying here. And he says, "We have some work to do in our domestic league and competitions. In terms of the development of U.S. talent, it's time to stop funding Canadian and Pacific Island pathways. It's time to start getting behind the U.S." So I think this quote has been circulating everywhere when it comes to U.S. rugby circles, Canadian rugby circles, MLR circles, and obviously there has been kind of a reaction to this, especially I would say from Canadian rugby fans, especially. And what I would say this before I get yours, my opinion here when it comes to this is it's tough. Obviously, he's coming right off of a qualification, right? And he's obviously trying to promote USA to go on and be successful here. But in your guys' eyes, what is he trying to say here? And is he in the right lane to be saying what he's saying this when it comes to Major League Rugby in particular and domestic competition in particular that's not necessarily on the international scene?
Well, I mean, let's also preface this. He also said this off the back of getting his butt whooped by Canada. So, tough love. It is what it is. I also don't know what he says about funding Pacific Islanders. I'm not sure if he means Hawaii, but Hawaii is part of the U.S. But I don't think any Pacific Islands have a domestic spot in the MLR. So not quite sure what that is alluding to, or what type of funding they're alluding to in terms of Pacific Islanders specifically. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. He's the U.S. coach. Like, what is he supposed to say? Yeah, we're supposed to fund the.
Yeah,
we should be putting money towards funding. Yeah, funding towards other countries. No, he's a U.S. coach. He has the right to say what he wants in the best interest of U.S. Rugby. In the best interest of U.S. Rugby, I'm sure he would prefer that there are more Americans playing in the MLR.
But I guess then my counter argument, right? And I get that, right? That he's going to have a USA leaning opinion when it comes to this, right? But I guess that merits to the question of, is more American players in the MLR beneficial to USA Rugby? It does getting more of them opportunity in the MLR actually translate to USA Rugby being better as a whole?
You know what? I'm just going to interject here. The one thing I would say about all sports, this counts for all of them, is iron sharpens iron. It doesn't matter
Right.
where you come from. It matters about the play. If you truly want to be competitive, you want to be great, it doesn't matter where you came from. That has no jurisdiction. Iron sharpens iron.
So
Yeah, 100% agree. And
and
I mean, look at a perfect example of this is I would say that if you look at the anthem and you look at how many guys on that anthem team got better from moving to another team and playing for the anthem, Sam Galla got worse, Mitch Wilson got worse, Christian Dyer retired.
yeah.
Like, you look at all these guys, they go play with a bunch of Americans, and look what happens. The skill goes down, everything goes down. To Vandy's point, you need international players, you need quality players to drive the game forward. If I'm practicing with a guy who I'm better than, if I am an American player and I'm the best player on the field, I'm never going to improve.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you're not the best player in the country. That's, I mean, in the world, that's for dang sure. Like, if you're playing for USA Rugby, you're not the best country in the world. You have to be playing with guys that are better. And every guy that we've talked with, who's come onto our show, they speak glowingly about these international guys coming in and just the impact that they have on their squad. It's, you're never going to have it. A league with all American players is exactly when US Rugby finds its demise.
Yeah, it never makes sense to kind of limit your pool of players. You know what I mean? Like, in any fact of the matter. But like you said, Matt, it's reactionary. It's off the cuff because it was just by a team that beat them. So you can't pick it apart too much. I understand what he's saying. We're help funding a team that beat us, but I mean, I think if he could go back, maybe. But I think if you ask the athletes that are American, they would say, no, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for the people listening, like where the controversy came up, which I don't think we brought, is the fact that not necessarily that I think the comment wasn't like we want to not only have Americans in the MLR. Maybe it was, who knows? But I think what people took away from it was, at least from a Canadian perspective, is that Canadians would no longer be eligible as domestic players.
Mm-hmm.
So teams would now have to use an international spot, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure doesn't even matter. Like, they just give away international spots like it's nothing. They have to use the international spot on a Canadian player.
Yeah.
So you can understand why Canadians may be outraged. You look at the recent champion. Yeah, go ahead, Vin.
Not to get political with it by any means, but that's just how it feels. It's another thing trending in that direction for Canadians.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's hard not to, get not an ego about it, but for it to, come off as abrasive because it's just another thing that trends in that direction. You know what I mean?
Yep.
What I'll 100%. say is at least what I got from this. I think Vandy has a point here. You can't nitpick it necessarily, right? Again, there's I think context that needs to be interlooped in this and where this is coming from and why he is saying this. But I think for me at least, and it's a reminder for me, right? And it was a time for me when I saw this to reflect on, okay, I think the question for me is how do we best develop rugby here in the United States? If that's the approach that Scott is going to take, right? In terms of you want the product and the game and the players to be better here stateside, right? How is that going to happen, right? And to Maddie's point, by only having or by limiting the number of players that are able to enter the league and only having like American players or a majority of American players play, to both what Vandy and Maddie have been saying, that you need to play with the best to be better, right? To become the best, you need to play with the best type mantra. If you're going to have 8 Anthem Rugby Carolina teams in the MLR, I don't think that's going to help anyone. But for me, what it looked like was that this is a very short-minded type outlook, right? The idea that, okay, we can just get as many American players to be playing so that we can set ourselves best up for 2027, then okay, fine. But the MLR was never intended to just do that for 2027. If that's the outlook of it, we were already seeing turmoil with this league. This league is not going to live past 2030 or 2031, right? When the World Cup comes here. What you need to do is you need to inspire the kids who don't even know rugby yet, the kids that are learning and trying to choose a sport when they're growing up, right? And the way that they're going to do that is by seeing Ma Nanu in a San Diego Legion uniform and being like, you know what, I want to be like him, right? Seeing, guys from overseas coming here, Liam Coltman, right? The Liam
Well,
Coltmans of the world, the Gavin Thornburys, right? The guys that are coming here and you're like, okay, like this is why I want to play. And that's the way you're going to inspire people to play this sport.
well,
And
I think you have to remember that the name value of these guys from overseas is very niche to a very niche public. If I'm a kid in high school, I have no clue, frankly, who Ma Nanu is. I have no clue who Liam Coltman is. I maybe have heard of the All Blacks, but I have no clue. What it's not about the name value
no,
for me.
I guess that's not what
It's
I'm
about
saying though. Is I'm not saying that it's the name value, right? Like I'm saying that even if you don't know who Liam Coltman is, right? The scrum is going to look a whole lot better with Liam Coltman in it than
100%.
yeah.
some random US guy that you don't know, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm learning the
Well,
sport
to
and
that point,
watching the quality,
yeah, nobody's gonna know. But like it's yes, to your point, I understand. You want the quality of the game and the product to be as high level as possible
mhm,
and as exciting as possible so that when people watch, they're actually inspired to want to play it because it's exciting, because it's an exciting sport.
Yeah.
right,
Not because you're watching guys, you know, play elementary rugby and
right.
kind of run around. You
You
want
are
to see the
going to
excitement. You want to see what, for lack of better terms, you want to see the excitement that the Southern Hemisphere brings to the game.
right. You are going to draw more fans when you have games and see play like the Utah Warriors, when you see play like RFCLA or what was once RFCLA, right? Like the New England Free Jacks, who are all teams that have a very large portion of non-American players, rather than having someone tune in to Anthem Rugby Carolina every single week, right? So my point being, again, I think the larger overscoping, I think this is the sentiment that a lot of people have. And again, I want to say it, there is an underlying undertone because, again, we're at heart Canadian. But at least from a Canadian's perspective and from, I think for us, that me and Matt both uniquely share that we are also now in part American and just want to see rugby grow as a whole here. I think the sentiment largely has been that, and I've seen a lot of people say it. You've quoted James Dealey of MLR Stats. You've quoted Brian Ray, who again are both Canadian. That USA Rugby does better when Rugby Canada does better, right? And like when it's always been better when you're working together to get that point. I get you can be rivals on the pitch, and you can obviously go head to head, and it hurts when you guys are competing for a singular spot, i.e., what happened in the qualification stuff going on. But I think long term, looking at this, is that you want, to Maddie's point, quality to be at its tip top, and you don't want to set up these barriers that are going to diminish that. I think that's probably the sentiment that all of us share here, at least on this show, when we do that. And again, from a fantasy joking aside, from a fantasy MLR perspective, I want to see the most talent as well, because I want guys like Joe Mano scoring, 200 points and Jonah Moe scoring 220 points and things like that, right? So, yeah, I this is just something that I know that we had to touch on because a lot of people in the rugby space, especially here in North America, have been touching on. Again, I don't want to nitpick it way too much, even though we've been talking about it for the past 15 minutes. But I think there is very, very people are high strung right now in the North American rugby community, whether it's because the MLR is kind of on its tippy toes and after just finishing PNCs and things like that. I thought it was important to address.
Yeah, yeah, it was good talk. I know it was a bit loud, but
Yeah,
it is what it is.
it is what it is.
It is what it is, boys.
All right. Well, hey, to shift on to, I guess, the last bit of international type stuff, we did have a Women's World Cup that we need to talk about. And what a tournament overall, right? I think just really, I haven't seen a Women's World Cup kind of front and center like this in
I
a
thought you were
long.
just gonna say period.
No,
Yeah.
front and center, long time from a Women's World Cup standpoint. Shout out to Sophie De Goody, World Cup
Player.
Women's Rugby Player, 15th Player of the Year.
Yeah.
How electric! I mean, just so much fun to watch. A lock that kicks. That's a beast on the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a lot of fun. So cool to see a Canadian and obviously a North American player on the biggest stage be recognized as the best 15th player in the world when it comes to this tournament. So really, really cool there. All right, enough of that. Let's get onto the positive side of things. All right, and let's talk a little bit TFR Managers Choice Awards.
Until we get to the biggest bust.
Seven. Gotta be seven, no?
Hear ye! Hear ye! Hear ye!
All right, hear ye, hear ye. Here is Supreme Commissioner Yi, not with the Fantasy Ruckers update this time, but
Thank
the
goodness.
first ever TFR Managers Choice Awards. We're going to be positive here. Maddie's been bringing the negative energy.
Not true.
Someone
I said Canada
Maddie's
could
been
win the
real.
world.
Maddie's been real.
I said Canada will win the world, and Chile, good on them. That's what I said.
I don't think so. I think there's some revisionist history happening there. But either way, let's talk about the TFR Managers Choice Awards here, right? So we had a variety of categories that we had this year in terms of what people voted for. We reached out to all of our league members to submit their ballot. We are going to do this every single year. Hopefully next year we'll not be having, knock on wood, teams leaving left and right after the season ends. So we could have this happen a little bit closer to the end of the year. But either way, it is finally here. So let's talk a little bit about it. We have, let me count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories to hand out, plus a bonus 2 that don't really have to do with the fantasy MLR season, but just something that I'd like to add in there. So let's start off here with performance of the year. Okay. What fantasy performance did fantasy managers think was the craziest this season? 3 official options. Every category had a other option for people to choose. We have first Axel Muller's round 1 performance against Miami. Opened up the season with a banger, 32.9 fantasy points, 3 tries, 141 meters gained, and 11 tackles. Coming up second as a nominee here was Devin Rousseau. Against Anthem Rugby Carolina, 30.4 points, 2 tries, 173 meters gained, which I believe was one of the highest of the year, and also 1 try assist. And then lastly, Xavier Mignot for NOLA in round 9 against Old Glory DC racked up the highest point total of the season, 33.5 fantasy points, with 3 tries, 133 meters gained, plus 9 tackles. So, who do we think won the performance of the year? Your winner is Axel Muller.
Come on,
with 60% of the vote, 32.9 fantasy points.
Whoever voted for Devon Rousseau, that's just like, what are you doing? He's playing against a training squad.
No,
like, come on.
Wait. Devon Rousseau got no points.
Oh, perfect. Good. Because that's like, it's like child abuse.
Yeah. 60% of the vote goes to Axel Muller. 40% of the vote goes to Xavier Mignot. So Axel Muller, congratulations. Come up and get your TFR Manager's Choice Award for your performance of the year. Yeah, we don't have trophies.
I don't think he was able to make it.
Yeah. Looking around,
I guess
it's too bad.
All right. Moving on to our second award in terms of the best team share. What team did you find most valuable to have players from? So, again, from fantasy aspect, we've talked about it on the show before, where you want good players on good teams. And we find out here what team people thought that would be. So, obviously have all of the options on this list. Can you guys guess? We'll play a fun game here. Who did not receive
Anthem Carolina.
any votes?
Anthem Carolina.
Okay, that is one.
Miami Sharks.
That is another one.
San Diego Legion. Nope. Yes, San Diego Legion.
Nope, that is not one.
Damn.
Wait, hold on. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's one more that you guys are missing.
OGDC.
OGDC is the other one.
Yeah, checks out.
Which I think
Checks
would
out.
have maybe not have been the case had Jason Robertson not got injured.
Yeah.
But either way, not there. All right, so your winner for the best team share is RFC Los Angeles. Is the winner this year with 30% of the votes.
You know what, Vandy? I voted Utah. All right.
I voted Utah.
I voted Utah. I did think that they were a good squad, but I think where RFC LA maybe edges them out is that RFC LA had a bit more points coming from more positions.
Yeah.
Utah, a lot of points coming from the back line. RFC LA, a lot of points coming from the back line, a lot of points coming from the halfback position, a lot of points coming from the back row, a lot of points coming from the second row.
Yeah. Best front row, Liam Coleman, tons of points. We had.
I agree with you. But it's all round. Who made the most total contribution?
Brother.
Utah can't even support themselves right now.
I want a championship with 5 Utah players starting every week.
All right. Well, 30% of the vote goes to RFC Los Angeles. Utah was tied in second place with the New England Free Jacks.
Wow, basically third.
At 20% of the vote. Also receiving votes, Houston SaberCats, Chicago Hounds, and the San Diego Legion. So congratulations to RFC LA. I guess there's no one here though to take. Do we give it to the? Do we give it to? Do we give it to the California Legion or what?
No, that's not. See, you give it to Antoine Dupont because he was the latest investor.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's move on to our third award in the TFR Manager's Choice Award, Kicker of the Year. Who was the most valuable kicker in the Fantasy MLR 2025 season? Again, you can always go points based on this, but who felt the most clutch? Who was great to have on your roster where you could just click that button to put that little T on your fantasy roster that felt good every single time? Let me tell you, the guy who won this was pretty far ahead of the pack, except for one player here who was maybe vying for a spot here. Got 5 nominees, always had the option of adding the other, but we have Christian Leolifano, Rodney Iona, Shane O'Leary, Chris Hilsenbeck, and D'Angelo Leuila. The winner for the kicker
Did you put other Joel Hodgson?
No, I put Hilsenbeck.
D'Angelo Leuila at 50% of the vote. Coming in second, Christopher Hilsenbeck at 30%.
Yeah, that's right.
Shane O'Leary and Christian Leolifano also getting votes in this one, but it is D'Angelo Leuila who comes out on top. Kind of, what do you guys feel about this?
I mean, he was nails. Let's not get it twisted. He was nails, but Hilsenbeck was crazy. When he came on, I felt like he could hit it from absolutely anywhere. He hit it with the lights out. The TV camera cut out and he still hit it.
Yeah.
It's true.
That is true.
So, that's a tough one. But you know what? With Leila, I think for me, why I can see people voting for him is the fact that you get within 50, you get a penalty within 50, and it was like, all right, 3 points, automatic.
Yeah. I think this is we're gonna have this episode in a later date where we talk about what rule additions people would like to see in fantasy MLR. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on like kind of like
10, 20, to 20 to 40?
Yeah.
50 plus.
Yeah.
I mean,
10s are pretty OP, and then now with like 6 teams, 10s are already gonna be.
Yeah.
There's gonna be 2 people off the bench.
Yeah.
Maybe we have to put an asterisk on the fly half, like fly half.
Or how about you can have half a fly half.
Yep.
Half. Yeah. You get to have shares.
You can have a share.
I own 50% of Joel Hodgson.
That'd be a fantasy MLR.
That's tomorrow, Commissioner problem. We got the awards to do.
That's right. Just to lay it out here, when it comes to kicking points, D'Angelo Leuila was tied with Christopher Hilsenbeck with 41 fantasy points each from the kicking perspective. So again, both guys outright. Surprisingly, Shane O'Leary was right there with 40.
Yes,
pretty impressive.
Not surprisingly, I almost voted for him. I actually might have voted for him, but I forget who I voted for. But Shane O'Leary was a guy that should be up there. He turned it around.
Yeah.
I early in the season unapologetically said this guy stinks.
Yeah.
And later on, week 6, round 6, he came into his own, and he was absolute money off the tee.
All right. So far we got Axel Muller with his round 1 performance for performance of the year for the best team share award. We got to come up with better names for these awards. Best team share award. RFCLA gets it. I guess the California Legion can kind of take that award.
Nope.
Kicker of the year, D'Angelo Le'uila. All right. On to our not last one. Our 4th award, undrafted gem. Who was our undrafted gem?
Ryan, I had a bit of a concern about this.
Yes.
Every league had different undrafted players. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And what if I put a vote in for a guy who actually was drafted in my league, but I forgot?
So did you put in an other?
I did.
Okay, so that was silly of you.
Well, you gave me the option.
I did give you the option.
What do you mean? You gave me. You put $20 on the table. You're telling me not to take it?
That's true. That is true. So I think I'm seeing. I think I'm seeing who your vote was right here. So I'm gonna not count that.
Don't count that one because actually do count it because you gave me the option.
But yes, this was basically who I went through all the leagues. And basically, who did not get drafted in any of the leagues that we had is what was the
you take data management in high school, Ryan?
I didn't
take data management, did you?
I did.
You didn't learn anything.
I took data management. I gave you too many options.
Gave me the wrong options. What do you mean? Too many.
Option. All right. We got a handful of options here. Now I got to figure out who. So Perry Humphreys, Joe Johnson, Duncan Matthews, Christian Poitevin, Lucas Rumble, Ed Timpson, Ryan James, I believe. Was Ryan James drafted?
James, I put other.
Okay, you put other. I think someone also put other for Joe Mono. Because there's no way that Joe... Did you put Joe Mono?
See what you do when you gave us the other option?
I put Joe Mono because he was a free agent.
Oh, you guys are ridiculous. All right, so take out. So, of course, I can't ask my scrub co-host to do anything, which is going to lead to the final question.
Somebody put Joe Mono and you didn't think it was me?
That's true. That's true. The winner of the Undrafted Gem Award for the Fantasy MLR 2025 season is...
Duncan Matthews.
30% of the vote. Crazy. I think what do you think led into it? Like, I guess it was the Devon Rousseau factor where you're like, okay, how much is Duncan Matthews going to actually get when it comes to...
No, it was that he simply sucked last year and he didn't play. That's what it was. And you just didn't know. You thought he was on the roster last year. You didn't know what was going to happen. He played 7 games.
Yeah.
And you're not going to draft that if they're playing 7 games. He ends up playing basically almost all the games and does really well. And he's back to kind of the Duncan Matthews of old. So, it was hard to look back on his year and be like, I mean, he was the one of the top 5 fantasy players.
Yeah.
In
league winner.
MLR.
League winner. League winner if you had it on there, which is incredible.
I didn't win my league.
There you go. Okay. We are now going to an award that I think we should just hand out without even making an announcement because I think everyone knows the answer to this award. But
I'm pretty pissed that you put other when there was no other option. You put other for the team share one too?
No.
What other team was I going to put?
I did not put other for the team share, Matthew. Drafted bust. What fantasy MLR player in 2025 let managers down the most? I'm going to let Vandy announce this one because he's the guy that drafted this guy first overall. Vandy, why don't you tell me who the drafted bust of Fantasy MLR 2025 was?
Semi Kunitani.
People were pissed. People were pissed.
But I still won.
And he still won. That fair enough to you. Listener League champion there. Yep, absolutely.
Semi Kunitani continues.
80% of the vote was Semi Kunitani.
Who didn't vote?
Tian Lutz and Jade Stigling got votes in that one too.
All right, those guys don't even.
So, yeah, I mean, it was Semi Kunitani all the way. I honestly would have Junior Goffa was pretty disappointing. I will say he was
Yeah,
the other one
not
that was
Yeah.
on there.
Junior
but-
Goffa
Semi
played.
level.
Junior
Yeah.
Goffa got on the field.
Should we change this drafted bust to who was the first overall pick in the 2020 the previous
We're gonna
draft? I guess
have to.
might
This
have
is
to.
not just becoming correlation. This is becoming causation.
Who
No
should we
kidding.
curse? We could literally curse him.
That's the real
That's the
question.
Send
thought.
us money.
That's the thought.
We'll put out a
Yeah.
hit.
Yeah.
Send us money.
It needs context for that. Someone's gonna clip that, and it's gonna be not so good on Fantasy Ruckers show. That'll be the end of us. All right. Moving on to our sixth award, drafted sleeper. So who was slept on in Fantasy MLR 2025 draft? So as very close to the undrafted gem, these players could be drafted, but who was slept on? Who did not get the flowers that they deserved when you look back at the end of the season? Options that I put on, this is one obviously that you could put other on, and there's no real.
Well, what if he wasn't drafted?
It still could be. That's true. That is true. Maybe I should just put sleeper.
Yes.
But then technically, all right, we gotta workshop this. The first
Yep.
TFR manager choice.
See,
board
this is
going
what I
off the rail.
mean. You didn't
We gotta
focus
be
in
better
data
than 5 here,
management.
boys. Come on.
Nominees for this one. We got Brad Wilkin, Rory Van Voot, Jordan Trainer, Axel Muller, Joe Mono, Ryan James, Ben Houston, Zion Going. I know Maddie loves that name. Ethan Grayson, and Paula Bellicana. The winner of
There's only
your
one right
sleeper
answer.
of the 2025 season is Brad Wilkin.
Yeah, see, that's messed up.
Brad Wilkin.
No, who was sleeping on him? Who was sleeping on him? If you watched our show, you weren't sleeping on him because I had him in the top 5.
That is true.
I said, hey, this guy's going to be top 5. And I'm pretty sure he was drafted pretty early
no,
in
no.
in our
in
draft.
our league, yes.
Yeah,
Other
because the
people's
other
league.
ones didn't have their ears listened.
No. So, Brad Wilkin wins this one. I want
That's
to pull
silly.
up. Hold on.
That's
Let me-
silly. He shouldn't even be a nominee.
Let me.
I told everybody. I
You
said
did
this
tell-
guy's going to be the best back row, one of the best back rowers in the
about
league.
Joe Mono, buddy. Nobody listens.
You did tell people. I want to pull up. Talk about Brad Wilkin, Matt, for a second while I pull up these stats here. Why was Brad Wilkin so high on your list there?
Well, because going into the year, look, it's obvious. You have a guy coming in from a sevens background, playing back row, great ball skills, athleticism. You bring him into the MLR, a place where he can dominate physically, mentally, and with his hands, emotionally. You're right. And not just that, but what he was able to do with the rest of his back row and connect on a different plane with the likes of Patty Ryan and Christian Poitevin. You just look at that back row and say, they look different. They sound different.
Can you guess?
They smell different.
I got it here.
And they came out and they dominated.
If you could guess, if you can remember what Brad Wilkins' ADP was, what do you think it was?
I know we had him going in like round 6.
He was 8th round pick.
All right. What was Ryan James?
Ryan
Joe
James
Mono.
was 7th round pick.
See, I don't. Who the heck knew? Maybe. Do you know what? Sleeper is subjective. That's what we're figuring out.
Give me Jordan.
You mean subjective?
Yeah.
Sleepers are subjective. That's what we're figuring out.
All right. Well, Brad Wilkin got 40% of the vote. All coming in with 10%. We got Paul Bellicana, Grayson,
What
Going,
the-
Houston,
what?
James, and Mono, all getting votes there.
Going, I understand.
Who do you
I
not?
myself slept on going.
Who do you not understand?
Brad Wilkin. I don't get it. I told the people.
They
I said-
didn't listen to you.
And
Other
then-
people
and then
slept on
here's
them.
here's the other thing. Again, I'm gonna come back to this because they came in with the lineup of Brad Wilkin, Christian Poitevin, and Patty Ryan. You look at that back row, they look different.
All right. Well, this is a
They don't look
caveat.
like this show, that's for sure.
I'm gonna clip this and say this is why you need to listen to the Fantasy Rucker Show if you want to win your fantasy MLR league.
I agree.
There you go. Look at Vandy
I
and
didn't
himself. He's
miss on-
winning
I didn't-
leagues.
I didn't
Yes,
miss on Ryan James.
What are
I
you
didn't miss
saying?
on Zion going.
I said Vandy Vandy's look at him. He won his league, and he's forced to listen to this and talk with us every
I
single
didn't
week.
miss Ethan
yeah.
Grayson.
I don't even need you guys. I drafted Sammy, still won.
All right. Last but certainly not least, the most highly coveted TFR
This is
Manager's
coveted.
Choice Award
Right.
of them all, your fantasy MLR MVP. Who came in the clutch most this fantasy MLR league year? Again, it does not have to be the guy that scored the most points, but who felt like in your lineup was coming through for you at the best and most pivotal
Wait,
times?
before you announce it, Vandy, who'd you vote for?
I think I went custom on this one.
And I think I know who you went.
I think I went like Jordan Trainer. So I went Joel Hodgson.
Okay. Okay. Maddie?
Is there a Joel Hodgson there?
There is a Joel Hodgson here.
Oh, that's Vandy.
There is
for
also
sure.
a Liam Coltman here.
Oh,
that's-
maybe I went Liam Coltman.
I think you might have
that's
went
it.
Liam
Yeah, I went
Coltman.
I think
Coltman.
that's it. I believe I went Joe. I believe I went Joe Mono.
Okay. The winner of this year's
Hey, do you not get a vote?
fantasy MLR MVP.
Ryan, you
Is-
didn't get a vote?
I did get a vote.
How come you didn't announce yours?
I voted Jonah Moe.
All right, who's about to win? Thank you. You
The
gotta do drum roll
winner
again. You gotta do the drum roll
of
again.
your fantasy MLR MVP is Paula Balikana.
Yeah.
Is this year's
Yeah.
winner?
See, I got an issue with this.
No, I get
50% of the vote. A lot
I
of
get
people
it.
thought that he was the MVP. What is your issue, Maddie?
I think we suffer as a community from recency bias.
it. Maybe.
Peyton Wall wins Rookie of the Year, even though you have guys like Aiden King performing for an entire season.
Mhm.
Paula Balakana wins the coveted fantasy Ruckers MVP of the season,
Just
but
stop
he
being a
only did what he
hipster
did
phone line.
from round 10 onwards. Round 8, let's be generous. Round 8 onwards.
That's true.
Joe Mono was doing this from the start. Jonah Moe was doing it from the start of the year.
That's true.
These guys are playing all the games, performing, being
That's true.
consistent.
But is there something to be said that you weigh the games later in the year more?
Why? Is this called the half season award? No.
Maybe.
It's called
If
the entire season award.
The sentiment though, and maybe we need to have fantasy MLR postseason award. Should I maybe next year split it up? Should I do fantasy MLR postseason MVP?
I think you should focus on getting this one dialed in first. I think you should maybe just lock in on this one first.
Okay.
And then we can worry about expanding.
Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. I did throw this one out there. Best fantasy team name.
Okay, we're just gonna glaze over the fact that Balakana won. That's fine. Okay.
No, okay. Well, what? No, you
Nothing. That's all I had to say. That's
poo-pooed
actually all
on
I
it.
had to say. Everybody just
I
disagrees
think
with me.
I understand the recency bias because he came through in the biggest moment.
Yeah. Scored a lot of tries.
You know what? Clutch player. Great. Clutch. That's clutch man of the season.
Okay.
Not MVP of the season.
But isn't being clutch a part of being an MVP?
No, I can be valuable, but not clutch.
But can you be the most valuable?
That's
I can be pretty valuable.
I would argue that's
Look,
not
I'm
the
sorry.
case.
If I can be
But
valuable.
let's leave it out in the comments.
by
Ken and
scoring 3 tries in the first 20 minutes and not having to score again. Yeah, maybe my team, but I scored 3 tries. What am I supposed to do?
Let's leave a comment. And this goes to any sport. To be an MVP, do you need to be clutch? I would argue you do. Matthew doesn't think you need to.
James Harden won an MVP. Guy's
Who?
anti-clutch.
Who?
James Harden.
That's true.
Was anti-clutch.
That's true. All right. Let's go on though. I mean, kudos to Balikana. Again, I think
Lamar
that's
Jackson won MVP. That guy can't even throw a ball in the playoffs.
all right. Back to MLR. I do
Hopefully
understand.
the Goody won Women's Player of the Year. She just lost in a final.
Oh, you're going right for the heart. That just happened. That's too early.
Anyways, all right. What's your fun participation trophies, Ryan?
All I'm saying is that 18.6 and 23.5. That 23.5 in the fantasy MLR finals is big.
All right, then fantasy MLR final MVP.
Okay,
Great.
That's what I'm saying. We'll maybe have to. We're continuing to workshop this. All right. Best fantasy team name. Let's go into some fun. there is no winner for this
Oh,
one
stop it.
because I
I do
have,
know. I thought everybody just would vote their own name.
and I feel like that is something that I got
I voted you,
because I
man.
I have what the Fafs, who is Stephen Lowen, who said that he voted on his own.
It's a whole other type of bias.
Vanny, is this you, the Rucking Goat? Did you put your own name in here?
Maybe I did.
So I think we're gonna need
I
to
didn't.
workshop
I
this
played by the
category.
rules.
We're
I voted.
X-naying.
I voted the fighting Beavers because I was feeling extra patriotic.
Okay, fighting Beavers. Feral Hippies is pretty good. Rock this.
They all stunk. I saw one that looked very close to my name.
The
What we
Rugby
need-
Goat's
I
pretty
thought-
funny.
The Rucking Goat I like, but Ryan came up with that, so it's
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
I want the first award. So we're not handing out the award in this one to anyone. The first one I'm gonna dish out for this category is gonna be when someone can take the name of a player or a couple players and make it into their fantasy team name that they have. A classic that happens in fantasy.
Do you think I
Like in
should say my
football-
fantasy? Do you think I should say my fantasy football name here?
No, do not say your fantasy football name. But things like it hurts when I fart. My favorite hockey one of all time. Who's Shattenkirk's bed? I like it. Things like that. So hey,
Brian got shot in Robinson.
That was pretty funny too. That was a good one.
So we'll host that off. All right, the biggest award that we have to dish out on this list. Favorite fantasy rucker. I had to throw this in there. I said create some chaos here on the Fantasy Rucker Show. Who is your favorite host? Do we have
Vanny, who'd you vote for?
Do we have any predictions?
This
Vanny,
one,
who'd you
I
vote for?
voted Matt.
Ryan, who'd you vote
I
for?
voted
who'd
for
you vote?
both these.
Who did you vote for, Vandy?
Big Matt, because he's your
I don't think you did because I don't have a single vote for Matt.
Then I voted for you, Ryan. That's what it was. Because you hold us down.
Matt, who did you vote
Yeah, hold us
for?
down underwater. I voted for Vandy.
All right. Well, you guys seem too nice. I voted for myself, and it ends up being a two-way tie between Vandy and myself at 50% each. So
it's an optional question. Were we the only people that voted?
no, I got a decent amount of votes on this one. 50-50 each. I guess the thing that we can take out of this is that Matthew's the worst host on this show.
That's all right. I don't mind that. I don't mind.
Well, maybe we'll
being
turn
the
this
villain.
around.
So
So
you're telling me
instead
I
of-
voted for
turn around.
myself?
I'm the villain.
me and Vandy, instead of me and Vandy splitting an award, we're gonna give you the most crappiest Fantasy Ruckers host award, Maddie.
I think what people, I think what I figured out is just people hate to hear the truth.
Yeah, you got hot takes, but I
think that's what it is.
All right. Lastly, here are some as we think about next year's TFR
No,
Managers
I
Choice
don't think-
Awards.
Close that question. No more expansions. We got to cut it down. We got to figure this out. We got to give Ryan
What are
a
some
lesson,
awards
a lesson
that-
in Google Forms.
what are some awards that you want to see this upcoming season? I got 3 responses out of everyone for this one.
The dumbest show host.
I got hottest dad bod, but Vandy would just win that every year. 1, because he is the only dad on this show, and 2, because he does have a hot dad bod.
That's right,
a
boy.
mentality.
I don't show for free. Check my OnlyFans.
No, quoted by Seth Smith. You
Thought that was just
showed
the-
him the guns last week, and he said, "Oh man, look at those arms." So that in itself is there. Manager most likely guilty of collusion. That's the second one there.
Probably Ryan.
So I would win that. So it's 2 for 2 here. And then last one. This is actually a good one. Award for the toughest league in all of Fantasy Ruckers leagues. Who was the most close in terms of the standings, the point totals, all of that. So I think that would be interesting. Either way, that is your 2025 TFR Managers Choice Awards. Thank you
Nice.
for taking part.
Look,
That was good.
and Rome wasn't built in a day, people. All
No,
right.
it was not.
Rome was not built in a day.
The
All right,
awards
last
And the
segment here. Let's
Oscars
wrap
were
up the
not
show
built in a
quick.
day.
TFR Betting Challenge.
I don't even know what we're even.
All right, time for the TFR betting challenge. There's only one thing only that we're making picks on here this week. We do have the starting of URC. We do have NPC Bunnings going on, but there's only one thing we're chatting about, and that is the Rugby Championship. Maddie, there are 2 games happening this weekend. Let's give the people some picks in this week's TFR betting challenge.
Ooh. Are the lines out, Ryan?
The lines are out.
All right.
The lines are out. And
Let's give it to the people. Australia versus New Zealand in Australia, in Perth.
On Saturday. Coming out. Maddie, if you had to guess the spread on this one, what are you guessing?
New Zealand favored by 6.5.
New Zealand favored by 6.5. It is New Zealand favored by 4.5.
Ooh. Yeah, New Zealand covers that.
Okay. And then on Saturday, a little bit later on, we got South Africa taking on Argentina. Maddie, you've been a big proponent of Argentina.
They are in Argentina.
They're in Argentina.
Which means they're covering. They're covering. I don't care what the line is. What's the line, Ryan? I think it is going to be 14.5.
Pretty good. 12.5 is the line.
They're covering that bad boy.
They're covering the line.
Argentina, you know what they do in Argentina? They cover.
They cover.
That's what they do.
All right. When in doubt, Argentina covers when they're at home. All right. Well, there's your picks this week. New Zealand going to cover that 4.5 spread. Argentina covering the 12.5. Maddie, because you like the underdog in that South Africa-Argentina match, would you at all entertain the idea of choosing Argentina at plus 425? Okay. Just wanted to throw that question there. All right.
Awesome, though.
That is your TFR betting challenge. All right, boys. Well, hey, we got to talk a little bit of controversy and a little bit emotional there. And then we also got to get a little bit happy and celebrate what was an exciting fantasy MLR 2025 season with the TFR Manager's Choice Awards. Now that that's all wrapped up, we look ahead to MLR 2026. Anything you boys have to say?
New England Free Jacks are playing next year.
There you go.
Confirmed.
Hot take. All right. For Matt Yee, for Devin Vandy Vanderpool, where did this episode go off the rails? I'm Ryan Yee. We'll be back on another episode of the Fantasy Ruckers Show.
You've been listening to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, covering everything rugby from the MLR and beyond. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review, and be sure to tell all your friends. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, connect with us on social media at the Fantasy Ruckers. Till next time, this is the Fantasy Ruckers Show, signing off.